Episode 6. Echoes of a Lost Tide. Beacon Verge pulsed with a rhythm distinct from the neon swamp's raw chaos, a city perched on the edge of Freeland Accord's sprawl, where order and ambition wrestled in the open. By 2070, it had grown into a beacon of its own, rebuilt from Philadelphia's bones. Its skyline, a blend of gleaming towers and weathered tenements, stitched together by elevated maglev tracks that buzzed day and night. The streets were busy with purpose. Students in hollow-stitched jackets darted between lectures, traders haggled over Toshi coin rates in open-air markets, and Libra's drones drifted overhead, their blue optics scanning for trouble without stifling the city's pulse. Unlike the slums, where survival was a knife's edge, Beacon Verge offered a veneer of stability. Cleaner air, safer corners, a chance to climb if you had the brains or the grit. But beneath the polish, cracks lingered, alley gangs ran stim rackets, data thieves hacked neural feeds, and the poor still scavenged the city's edges, their shanties hugging the river's toxic banks. Life here was a balancing act. Citizens woke to AI-curated news projected on their apartment walls, Libra's daily dose of truth, filtered to keep the peace. Morning markets sold vat-grown produce and salvaged tech, bartered in Toshi coins that pinged instantly via wrist chips. Kids attended hollow schools, their lessons beamed into neural interfaces, while adults worked in labs, trade hubs, or drone factories, their wages tied to Libra's merit algorithms. Freedom was the city's anthem. Every voice mattered. Every path was yours to carve. But it came with eyes watching, drones tallying your moves. Most didn't mind. Safety was worth the leash, and Beacon Verge thrived on it. A city of dreamers and doers who believed they could outrun the past. The wealthy lived in sky-lofts, their terraces blooming with Verdant's bioengineered vines, sipping synth wine while debating philosophy or profit. The working class packed into hab-blocks, their evenings spent in VR bars or street festivals, where musicians played reclaimed guitars under flickering hololights. Faith varied. Some prayed to old gods in makeshift churches, others to the ASIs themselves, shrines glowing with circuit board icons. Crime was low, thanks to Libra's swift justice, but tension simmered. Freeland's chaos bled in from the south, Nova Reach's spies prowled from the west, and whispers of the Order's shadow kept the paranoid awake. Still, Beacon Verge was alive, flawed, vibrant, a city that dared to hope in a world that had forgotten how. Kane Voss slipped into this pulse like a shadow, his boots hitting the pavement as dawn painted the spires gold. The core thrummed in his pack, a quiet menace he couldn't shake, its weight heavier than the miles he'd burned to get here. He'd ditched the slum's filth for Beacon Verge's cleaner streets, but safety was an illusion. Nix's blood-soaked apartment haunted him, a reminder that whoever wanted the core wouldn't stop. His hood stayed up, blending with the morning crowd. Students with datapads, vendors hauling carts, professors hurrying to their classes. The campus of Liberty Spire loomed ahead, a sprawl of white stone and glass domes nestled at the city's north end, its lawns dotted with hollow sculptures that shifted like liquid art. Sadie was here, somewhere. His last shot at answers. Maybe his last shot at anything. He crossed the campus threshold, the air shifting from city grit to something sharper, alive with ideas. Students lounged on benches, debating over coffee, their voices a mix of slang and jargon. Freeland's drawl clashing with Nova Reach's clipped precision. A hollow board flashed schedules, lectures on quantum ethics, ASI governance, lost histories. Kane kept his head low, weaving past a group of undergrads laughing over a VR game, their neural bands glowing faintly. He needed Sadie, but storming in blind was a death wish. Better to play it smart, blend in, find her trail. He approached a kid leaning against a pillar, scrolling a holopad, lanky, maybe 19, with a mop of dyed blue hair and a jacket patched with anarchist pins. "Hey," Kane said, voice casual but firm. "Looking for Dr. Sadie Hall. Know where she's at?" The kid glanced up, sizing him up, then shrugged. "Hall? Yeah, she's big time. Archaeology prof, always digging up weird shit. He tapped his pad, pulling up a schedule. Not in her office now. Think she's got a lecture later. Check the main hall, maybe. Time? Kane pressed, keeping his tone neutral. Hour or so, I'd guess. Dunno the room. Ask at the admin desk. The kid went back to his pad, dismissing him. Kane nodded, moving on. He hit the admin building, a sleek cube of glass and steel, and leaned into a clerk at the front desk, a middle-aged woman with a cybernetic eye that whirred as it scanned him. Doctor. Sadie Hall, he said, flashing a half-smile. Heard she's speaking today. Where's it at? The clerk tapped a console, her eye flickering. Lectures at 10. Hall of Ancients, room 204. Public's welcome, but it's packed. Get there early. She gave him a once-over, suspicious but not enough to care. You a student? Something like that, Kane muttered, already turning away. An hour to kill. He grabbed a seat on a bench outside, blending with the campus murmur. Professor striding past, drones buzzing low, the air thick with coffee and ambition. His mind churned. Sadie, the core, Nix's corpse. The helix shard in his pocket felt like a live wire, tying him to something bigger. Nova. Reach, maybe. Or worse. He didn't have time to guess. Sadie was his move, the only one left. 10 o'clock neared, and Kane slipped into the Hall of Ancients, a towering atrium of white stone and hollow panels that flickered with glyphs from dead cultures. Mayan, Sumerian, glyphs no one could place. Room 204 was up a spiral stair, its doors already open, students pouring in. He took a seat in the back, hood low, the core tucked tight in his pack under the chair. The lecture hall was a crescent of tiered seats facing a hollow stage, its walls alive with projections of ruins, crumbled temples, sunken cities, artifacts glowing like ghosts. A murmur ran through the crowd, maybe 100 strong, students, researchers, a few gray-haired types who looked like donors or spies. Kane sank lower, scanning for threats. No drones inside, no obvious muscle. Good enough. Then she walked in. Sadie Hall. Kane's breath caught, a decade's worth of memories slamming into him. She was 32 now, but time hadn't dulled her edge. Her dark auburn hair was pulled back, a few strands loose, framing a face that was all sharp lines and fire. Cheekbones high, eyes dark and piercing, lips set with a confidence that dared the room to keep up. She wore a tailored jacket over a black shirt. Practical, but sharp, her boots scuffed from field digs. She moved with purpose, no wasted motion, like she owned the space and everyone in it. The girl he'd loved was still there, but grown. Harder, sharper. A woman who'd carved her place in a world that broke most. His chest tightened, guilt and want twisting together, but he shoved it down. Not now. Sadie stepped to the hollow stage, a datapad in hand, and the room hushed. She tapped the pad, and the stage erupted in light. A 3D projection of an ocean, waves rippling across the floor, a coastline forming in the air. Good morning, she said, her voice clear, warm, with a trace of freelance drawl sharpened by years of precision. Today we're diving into something big. New evidence on the lost city of Atlantis. Yes, Atlantis. I know what you're thinking. Myth, fairy tale, overdone. But stick with me. This isn't your grandpa's bedtime story. A ripple of laughter ran through the room. Kane leaned forward, elbows on knees, caught by her cadence. She was good, damn good, pulling the crowd in like she was telling a secret. For centuries, Atlantis was an enigma. Plato's allegory, a moral lesson about hubris. Maybe nothing more. But in the last decade, we've found cracks in that narrative. Submerged ruins off the Bahamas, glyphs in the Azores, text signatures in the Mediterranean that don't match anything from the Bronze Age. She swiped her pad, and the projection zoomed to a grid of underwater scans, stone structures, concentric rings, a harbor swallowed by the sea. These aren't natural. They're engineered, precise, dated to at least 12,000 years ago. That's pre-flood, pre-agriculture, when we were supposedly banging rocks together. She paced, the ocean following her steps. Let's talk about James Tatum's work, not an academic, but a pattern finder. He argued Atlantis wasn't a city, but a network. A coastal empire tied to trade and tech, centered in the Atlantic, but stretching globally. His evidence? Anomalies. Maps like the Peary Rays, showing Antarctica ice-free, megaliths aligned with stars we didn't chart until telescopes, and oral traditions from cultures a world apart, all whispering of a great flood and a lost golden age. The hollow shifted, showing a city now, sprawling, radiant, its towers of white stone and crystal catching a sun that no longer shone. Kane's pulse quickened. The core in his pack seemed to hum louder, though he knew it was his mind playing tricks. Sadie's voice pulled him back. Picture it. Atlantis, the hub of this network. Not a myth, but a reality. A civilization that cracked energy, navigation, maybe even consciousness tech. Their cities were built on ley lines, amplifying natural geological currents. Their ships didn't sail. They glided, powered by something we can't yet replicate. Their society? Not utopia, but advanced. Hierarchical, yes, but merit-driven. Artisans, scholars, warriors, all bound by a code we're only starting to decipher. She paused, letting the city hang in the air, its canals glowing like veins. What was it like to live there? Vibrant, brutal, alive. Markets buzzed with goods from continents we hadn't named. Temples doubled as labs, where priests were engineers, mapping the stars and the mind. Their tech wasn't cold. It was organic, woven into stone and crystal, pulsating with purpose. But they weren't gods. They fought, loved, betrayed. Their elites hoarded knowledge. Their workers bled for it. And when the end came, flood, quake, maybe their own hubris, it wasn't slow. One generation, gone. A student raised a hand, voice skeptical. Dr. Hall. How's this different from pseudoscience? Every dig gets called Atlantis eventually. Sadie smiled, sharp but patient. Fair question. The difference is data. Tatum leaned on intuition. We're using scans, quantum resonance, deep sonar, isotopic decay. The Bahamas site, for instance, its stones match quarries in Iberia, not local bedrock. The glyphs? They predate Sumerian cuneiform, but share fractal patterns we see in ASI code today. Coincidence? Maybe. But when 50 sites across the globe show the same text signature, same flood markers, you start to wonder. Another voice piped up, older, smug. If they were so advanced, why no record? Why is it all underwater? Sadie didn't flinch. Cataclysm doesn't negotiate. A comet strike, a pole shift. 12,000 years ago, the Younger Dryas event melted glaciers fast enough to drown coasts in decades. Their records, buried, eroded, or locked in relics we haven't cracked. As for underwater, most of humanity's history hugged coasts. When seas rose, we lost our roots. Atlantis wasn't special in that sense. It was just louder. Kane listened, rapt. The core, a flicker in his mind. Sadie's words painted a world too close to the thing in his pack. A crystal sphere, alive with light, defying every tech he knew. Was it theirs? A piece of her lost city? His gut twisted. He needed to talk to her now, but the lecture wasn't done. Sadie swiped her pad again, the hollow zooming to a new scan. A submerged plateau off the Azores, its contours sharp, unnatural. "This is the latest," she said, voice dropping, conspiratorial. "Found last year, classified until now. A structure, 3 miles down, with energy readings that spiked our sensors. Not radioactive, not thermal. Something else like a pulse. We're planning a dive next month, but early data suggests a power source, intact, maybe still active. If it's Atlantis or one of its outposts, we're on the edge of rewriting history." The room buzzed, questions flying. Sadie fielded them with ease, her passion cutting through the noise. No, we don't know the energy's purpose. Could be lights, weapons, or something we can't dream up. Yes, the glyphs suggest a language, but it's not linear. Think quantum, layered. Funding? Private, for now. Libra's too nosy. Kane watched her, caught by the fire in her voice. The way she owned the room without trying. She was the same Sadie. Fierce, brilliant. But more, a woman who'd found her fight while he'd been running from his. The lecture wound down, students clapping as Sadie shut off the holo. "Read the Tatum paper on the data pad drop," she called. "Quiz next week. Don't skim." The crowd dispersed, some lingering to ask questions, others bolting for coffee. Kane stayed put, heart pounding, waiting for the room to thin. He couldn't approach her here. Too many eyes, too many risks. But he'd heard enough. The core wasn't just loot. Could this thing be a thread to her world, to Atlantis, to secrets someone had killed Nyx to keep? Sadie gathered her pad, chatting with a student, her laugh low and real. Kane's chest ached. He wanted to walk up, say her name, see those eyes lock on his. But he couldn't, not yet. He slipped out, blending with the hallway crowd, the core heavy against his spine. He'd find her later, alone, somewhere safe. She was his way in, his way out, and maybe, though he barely dared think it, his way back to something he'd lost 10 years ago. Outside, the campus flickered to life, oblivious to the storm brewing. Kane moved fast, eyes scanning for tales, his mind racing with Sadie's words. A lost city, a pulsing relic, a truth buried too long. The core wasn't just a score anymore. It was a key to a door he didn't understand, and the shadows chasing him were closing fast.